An arrogant boxing champion forced a young black Jamaican woman into a fight meant to disgrace her. What followed, however, was something no one saw coming. "Take a look at this," Victoria Sterling scoffed, pointing openly at the girl who had just stepped inside the elite Manhattan boxing gym. "Looks like someone wandered in after missing the turn to the local neighborhood gym." The rhythmic thuds of gloves against heavy bags came to a sudden halt. Heads turned. Every eye locked onto Kesha Campbell. She stood there quietly, clutching a battered sports bag, her holey sneakers worn thin from years of use. Her dark skin stood out sharply against the pristine white walls of a facility where monthly membership fees cost more than 3 months of minimum wage. This was Victoria Sterling's kingdom. At just 26, Victoria was a 2-time women's world boxing champion, feared for her knockout power and infamous for her cutting tongue. She had built an empire not just on victories in the ring, but on controversy online. Her social media insults drew millions of views, sponsors loved the attention, and arrogance had become her brand. Her latest Instagram post already boasted 500,000 likes, a photo of her flexing with the caption, "When you're born superior, you don't need to pretend you're equal." "I'm sorry," Kesha said softly, glancing down at the cracked screen of her phone. "I thought this was the youth scholarship program." Victoria's laughter pierced the air like a siren. "Scholarship?" she mocked. "Sweetheart, this isn't charity. We train real athletes here, not social experiments." What Victoria didn't know was that Kesha had arrived in the United States only 6 months earlier, carrying the hopes of an entire Jamaican family that had saved for years, just to give her a chance. She worked 16 hours a day cleaning offices, sleeping in a cramped Bronx apartment she shared with 3 others. That scholarship was her only doorway into a real gym. "The program does exist," a firm voice interrupted. "Tom Rodriguez, the gym's owner and a veteran trainer of 30 years, stepped out holding a folder. "And Kesha Campbell is officially approved." Victoria rolled her eyes. "Seriously, Tom? You want to turn my training facility into some NGO? My sponsors won't like this." "They pay for results," Tom replied coldly. "Not your opinions." But Victoria wasn't done. She stepped closer to Kesha, smiling in a way that felt more like a threat. "You want to train with professionals?" she said. "Then let's see if you actually deserve to be here." The gym went silent. "A friendly spar," Victoria continued slowly. "You and me, 3 rounds. If you last, you stay. If you don't—" She waved her hand dismissively. Kesha felt the weight of every stare. She knew exactly what this was, a public setup meant to humiliate her before she even started. Still, something burned quietly behind her eyes. "I accept," she said evenly. Victoria frowned, expecting tears, begging hesitation. "You sure?" she sneered. "Because when I'm finished, you'll regret ever dreaming this big." "I'm sure," Kesha repeated, and for the first time since entering the gym, she smiled. What Victoria Sterling didn't know was that in the streets of Kingston, Jamaica, Kesha Campbell was known by a name whispered with fear and respect. Lightning, and lightning only reveals its power when the storm arrives. As Victoria already imagined turning the humiliation into viral content, Tom Rodriguez studied Kesha more closely. There was something familiar in her gaze, a calm intensity he had seen only a few times in his career, usually right before greatness revealed itself. Word of the spar spread fast. Within an hour, boxers, trainers, and even journalists crowded. The gym, a world champion versus an unknown Jamaican, promised the kind of cruelty social media devoured. 3 rounds, 16-ounce gloves, Tom announced, trying to keep control. "No bets, no live stream." Victoria laughed. "Relax. Tom, it won't even reach round 2. She was already recording Instagram stories for her 2 million followers. "You won't believe this," she narrated. "Some random girl wants to challenge me. I'm about to teach her humility. The comments flooded in. Destroy her. Put her in her place. Show her why you're the queen. While Victoria soaked up the attention, Kesha quietly walked to the locker room. Her hands were steady. They always were. But her heart raced, not with fear, but with memories she tried hard to bury. Tom followed her. You don't have to do this, he said gently. That scholarship isn't worth getting hurt over. I won't get hurt, Kesha replied calmly, testing borrowed gloves. She's a world champion, Tom warned. Experience, power. And I have something she doesn't, Kesha said, locking eyes with him. Hunger. The word echoed. Tom had trained hundreds of fighters, but rarely heard that word spoken with such certainty. Why accept the fight? He asked quietly. Kesha closed her eyes. Kingston flashed back. Fists, hunger, survival. Because people like her think words can break us, she said. They forget one thing. What's that? Those who fight to survive don't fight for sport. They fight to exist. Outside, Victoria continued mocking her to the cameras. Look at those shoes, she laughed. She probably learned boxing on YouTube. Some laughed. Others stayed silent. Marcus Williams, a former champion, whispered, That calm. I've seen it before. Quiet ones are dangerous. Victoria ignored the warning signs. Kesha emerged moments later wearing simple shorts and a tank top. Her arms were lean, defined, her movements fluid, controlled, predatory. Ready to learn? Victoria taunted. Always, Kesha answered. What? Victoria couldn't imagine was that Kesha had been fighting since age 8, not in gyms, but on Kingston streets. By 12, she beat boys older and larger. By 16, she was legend, not for brutality, but precision. When she got her U.S. visa, she promised she'd never fight again. But dignity changes promises. Tom noticed her hands. Relaxed, powerful, have. You really never fought before? He asked. Kesha smiled slightly. Define fought. Moments later, an older man entered the gym. Lightning. The name hit the room like a gunshot. It was Winston Campbell, her uncle. I came to see. If my niece lost her mind, he said. We agreed those days were over. Tom listened as the truth unraveled. That girl, Winston said, pointing at Kesha, was the most feared street fighter Kingston ever produced. Street fighter. By 12, she beat grown men. By 15, even gangsters respected her. Lightning wasn't a nickname, it was a warning. Victoria, meanwhile, kept recording. She brought her family. She laughed. How cute. Winston shook his head. Arrogant, just like the ones Lightning humbled back home. Bet on Lightning, he told Tom. Why? Because Victoria never fought for survival. When Kesha returned, Winston looked at her firmly. You don't stop being Lightning just because you want peace. When asked why she truly accepted the fight, Kesha answered calmly, She saw me as content, a joke, an easy victim. Her smile sharpened. Where I come from, respect is earned. The bell rang. Victoria attacked first. Fast, aggressive. But Kesha was already gone. Punches sliced air. What the hell? Victoria muttered. Then Kesha countered. One strike. Perfect. Clean. Silence. What followed wasn't chaos. It was mastery. Every move calculated. Every counter inevitable. In round 2, reality hit Victoria hard. The comments online flipped. She's losing. That Jamaican is destroying her. Then Kesha spoke calmly. Lightning was never just a name, she said. It was a warning. 4 punches. Less than 2 seconds. Victoria collapsed. Knockout. The gym erupted. You wanted to teach me a lesson, Kesha said quietly. Here it is. Respect isn't about color or money. It's about character. Victoria lost sponsors, followers, everything. 3 months later, Kesha signed a multi-million-dollar contract. Lightning Campbell became a symbol, a foundation, scholarships, a gym in Kingston. This story isn't revenge, Kesha said at its opening. It's dignity. Years later, as a unified world champion, she said, "True power comes from refusing to accept limits others place on you." Victoria watched from a small apartment, finally understanding the difference between talent and greatness. Kesha hadn't just won a fight, she rewrote the rules and proved that the strongest storms don't destroy, they transform. If this story of justice and transformation moved you, don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes being underestimated is the very advantage that changes everything.